Most people use AI to write things, answer questions, or summarize stuff. That makes sense. Those are the obvious use cases. But there's a whole category of tasks AI is surprisingly good at that most people have never thought to try. And this video is about one of them. Today, we're going to take something you probably already do, a recurring weekly task you've been running the same way for years, and turn it into a documented, repeatable system in about 2 minutes with one paragraph. If that sounds too simple to be useful, stick around. The output is going to change your mind. Every business owner has these tasks you do the same way every single week. You figured out the right approach through trial and error. You refined it quietly over time, and now it just runs on instinct without thinking. And that's actually a good thing. It means you've accumulated real operational knowledge, the kind of knowledge that took years to build. The problem is that it lives entirely in your head, and anything that lives entirely in your head has a ceiling on how useful it can be. Here's what that ceiling actually looks like in practice. You want to take a Friday afternoon off. The process doesn't happen. You hire an assistant to take some things off your plate. You cannot hand this one off because there's nothing to hand. You want to train someone new. Every explanation starts from scratch because there's no document to point to. And the sneakiest one, you cannot spot what to improve when nothing is written down. You're running the process, but you're inside of it. The only way to see it clearly is to get it out of your head and onto a page. Most people never do that because they assume it takes longer than it actually does. And honestly, that assumption used to be reasonable. The traditional approach looks like this: hire a consultant to observe and document your workflows, or block off a full afternoon yourself. Build a flowchart in the same tool you barely know, write a manual that nobody reads twice. That's a real investment of time and energy. And for a lot of business owners, the process never gets documented because the effort never feels worth it for something that's already working. And that calculation is about to change. Here's the thing about AI that most people underestimate: you do not need to have everything organized before you hand it over. You don't need a clean outline or a formatted draft. You can describe something the way you would explain it to a coworker over lunch, and AI will return it structured, labeled, and organized. You bring the knowledge. AI brings the organization. That splits where this gets interesting. You've been doing the work for years. You know every nuance, every edge case, every judgment call. AI doesn't have that. What it does have is the ability to take a casual description and impose clean, usable structure on it in seconds. Those two things together produce something neither one of you could do alone. Let me give you a specific example of what this looks like. There's a realtor, 6 years in, who has the same Friday afternoon routine every week without fail. She goes through her active leads. She identifies anyone she's not heard from in more than 2 weeks. She sends a check in by text or email depending on how she knows the person. She logs everything in the CRM. She flags anyone who feels like they're going quiet. And if someone seems close to making a move, she loops in her broker or suggests a showing. She's been doing this exact sequence for 6 years. It works. Her follow up rate is solid. Her leads stay warm. She's never written a single step of it down. That Friday process runs on one thing: her. And that's fine, right up until it's not. She gets sick on a Friday. The whole process stops. Not delayed, not handed off, stopped. She wants to bring on an assistant to help with client management. She can't delegate this one because there's no document to share. She wants to eventually grow the business to the point where she's not personally managing every lead relationship. A process that only she can run makes that impossible. A process only you can run is a ceiling. What we're about to do turns it into a system. Here's what the actual process looks like. She describes her Friday routine in plain conversational language, exactly how she would explain it to a new hire on their first day. No special format, no preparation, no software to learn. She pastes it in the Claude with the right prompt, and what comes back is a structured, labeled system document, complete with numbered steps, decision points, failure modes, and a checklist for handing it off to someone else. That's the demo, and we're going to run it live right now. Before we paste anything in, let me tell you what else to watch for. Claude's going to return 4 sections. The first is a clean name for the process and one sentence on what it accomplishes. The second is the step-by-step workflow, numbered steps written in plain language with decision points labeled exactly where they occur in the sequence. The third section is where this process typically breaks down. 3 specific failure points drawn directly from the description. And the fourth is a handoff checklist. 3 things that need to be in place before someone else can run this process without the original owner standing over their shoulder. The last section is the one most people don't think about until they're already in trouble. Watch how specifically it applies to the paragraph that goes in. All right, here's how the prompt is built. The system prompt establishes Claude as a system designer. Its job is to take a casual description of a recurring task and return a clean, repeatable system document. It's given strict instructions to return exactly 4 labeled sections and nothing else. No introduction, no encouragement, no suggestions beyond what it was asked for. That constraint is important. It keeps the output tight and usable instead of padded with filler. Let's get in the cloud and check it out. Here's the system prompt. You are a systems designer. Your job is to take a casual description of a recurring task and turn it into a clean, repeatable system document. Return exactly 4 sections. 1. Process name and purpose. A one-line name for this process and one sentence on what it accomplishes. 2. Step-by-step workflow. Numbered steps written in plain language. Each step should be specific enough that someone unfamiliar with the task could follow it. Where a decision needs to be made, label it as a decision point and describe both paths. 3. Where this process typically breaks down. 3 specific failure points common to this type of process. Draw only from what was described. No generic advice. 4. What to check before you hand this off. 3 things the process owner needs to verify or document before the system can run without them. Return only these 4 sections. No introduction, no encouragement, and no suggestions beyond what's asked for. Let's go ahead and give Claude those instructions. All right, it's looking for the description of the task. Here's going to be our user input for this one. Every Friday afternoon, I go through my active leads. I check who I haven't heard from in more than 2 weeks, send a quick check in by text or email depending on how I know them, make a note in my CRM, and flag anyone who feels like they're going quiet. If someone seems close to ready, I'll loop in my broker or suggest we set up a showing. I've been a realtor for 6 years, but I've never actually written out what I do. Let's give that to Claude. And that last line there, I've never actually written out what to do, is not just flavor. This signals to Claude that we're starting from scratch and the output needs to stand on its own. So our process name and purpose. A weekly lead pulse check ensures every active lead receives consistent contact and is moved toward a next action before momentum is lost. Step-by-step workflow. Open your CRM every Friday between 12 and 5. Pull the active leads. Filter for any lead with no outreach. For each lead flagged by that filter, review the contact history. Decision point of the communication channel. Do you want to send through a text or through an email? Rate and send the check-in message. Log the outreach in the CRM immediately after sending. For decision point, the lead temperature. So is it going quiet? If they're showing buying signals. For warm or ready leads, determine the next action. So if they have financing in place and expect urgency, get your broker to loop them in. Document the outcome of step 8 in the CRM before closing the record. And when all active leads have been reviewed, note the total count reviewed and any leads you've moved to a new stage. 3. Where this process typically breaks down. Inconsistent CRM logging in the days prior. Friday filter works if outreach through the week was actually recorded. Feels close to ready stays subjective and undocumented. The broker loop in and showing suggestion depend entirely on a gut read that never gets defined or written down. And number 3, the process compresses or disappears on heavy Fridays. Because this runs on a single afternoon with no backup window, if you're busy on that Friday, This could get pushed off the list. Number 4, what to check before you hand this off. Confirm if the CRM can actually produce the 14-day no contact filler without manual sorting. Define and document what close to ready looks like in writing. And identify who runs the process if you're unavailable on a given Friday, and document where they find everything. Let's take a look further at what came back. That process existed before this demo. Every step, every decision point, every judgment call. She's been running all of it for 6 years. What was missing was the structure to make it visible. The decision points are now labeled. When she reaches a judgment call in the sequence, it's documented as a decision point and both paths described. That means someone else can follow it without needing her to explain each fork in real time. The failure points are specific to what she described. Claude didn't return generic process advice. It pulled failure modes from the actual description. The CRM logging gap, the informal at risk flagging, the undefined broker escalation trigger. Those were all present in what she wrote. They're just not visible until they were named. And that handoff checklist at the end, that's the part most people never write. The questions about whether her CRM filter is reliable, whether her lead stages are standardized, whether an assistant would have broker contact authority, those are exactly the things that surface later when someone else tries to run this process and it breaks in a way she never anticipated. What went in was the description, but what came back was a system. A few things to keep in mind before you try this yourself. Claude doesn't know your specific CRM. It doesn't know your broker relationship or how you communicate with certain clients. It doesn't know which leads are genuinely warm and which ones just look that way from the outside. Those details belong to you and they shape how you read the output. Treat what comes back as a strong first draft. Read through it with your actual context in mind. Some steps will be exactly right. Some will need to be adjusted for how your specific situation works. Some will prompt you to add details that did not make it into the original paragraph. The system gets you most of the way there in under 2 minutes. The refinement that follows is where your knowledge makes it yours. Here's your takeaway from the video. Pick one task you've been doing the same every week, something you've been running on instinct for a year or more. Describe it in plain language, the best way you would explain it to someone on their first day. Don't worry about getting it perfect. Casual and specific beats polished and vague every time. Then paste in with the prompt you just watched. See what comes back. The processes you've built from experience are some of the most valuable things in your business. The only thing keeping them from being usable by anyone other than you is the document that does not exist yet. And that document takes 2 minutes. Go make it. If you want to try this yourself, the full prompt's in the description below. Copy it, paste your own process description as the user message, and see what comes back for your specific situation. If you want to help applying this kind of thinking across your whole operation, figuring out which processes are worth documenting, where AI fits into your workflow, and what to tackle first, that's exactly what we do at Eau Claire AI. Head to eauclaireai.com to learn more or reach out directly. And if you found this useful, subscribe. We publish new capability demos every week, and every video is built around one thing: showing you something you did not know AI could do. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.